You are listening to the Babe You've Got This podcast, where you receive mindset and business coaching designed for the everyday gal who has big goals and dreams and is craving that guidance, insight, and reaffirmation for creating more success in their life. This is episode number 27, and I have the fabulous Stacey Lianne with me today as I pick her brains to get all the juicy info about manifesting the love we deserve and sexual relationships. Stacey is a 31-year-old entrepreneur, mum, spiritual junkie, and manifestation queen. After discovering herself through a marriage breakdown and experiencing heartbreak, she became dedicated over the last 4 years to not only heal herself and becoming comfortable with her own company, but has also become extremely passionate about coaching women through the same self-discovery process and advising them on how to ask for and create what they truly desire in a relationship. Stacey believes we all have the power to manifest and attract our ideal partner, to listen in, to learn more about self-discovery and attracting the right relationship for you. This podcast is brought to you by Abundance Club, an exclusive online membership to a 16-week holistic health and mindset coaching program. Abundance Club supports, educates, and empowers its members with their self-love, mental health, happiness, nutrition, and exercise. You can learn more by checking out their website, which is www.abundanceclub.net. Just a reminder to hit subscribe so you are always in the loop when a new episode drops. I am so grateful that I can give you this time and content as you listen in today. And remember to leave a heart-filled review and 5 sparkly stars if you are listening through iTunes, or leave your love-filled comments in the comment section below. By this process, you are contributing to the bigger vision and impact of inspiring and helping women just like you to grow their success and their mindset. Don't forget to leave your Instagram handle too, so we can give you a shout out on our social media and recognize you for your greatness. All right, let's get started. Hello, we're here with the gorgeous Stacey.
Hello, how are you?
Oh, fabulous. Well,
Good, darling. I'm glad you're fabulous. So am I today. I've done all the things I've needed to kind of put myself in this wonderful heart space. So I'm really excited to share with you all.
Yay. Oh, so guys, a little bit about Stacey. Well, I gave you a bit of an intro. Stacey, I've known Stacey for like 4 years.
5 years, babe.
5 years, gosh. And I'm really excited for you guys to, if you're watching or if you're listening, like what you're going to be talking about, Stacey, is I've actually been able to watch this journey unfold, and everything that you are like teaching us and sharing with us, like I've seen you learn and implement firsthand. So guys, you're not just getting advice from this beautiful human, you're getting like real life, the things that happened to, real experience, and you're speaking, authentically. So we're doing today a little bit differently. Normally we take you back to a Babe You've Got This moment, but this is kind of like a Babe You've Got This last 5 years. So I think, so Stacey, share us a little bit about yourself, share us about I know we're going to hear all the juicy details about your marriage breakdown and your great personal breakdown, and then what you had to do to rebuild that, love for yourself, so you can then, attract in the perfect partner for you. So,
Thanks, Dawn. Yeah, I was just going to say, you've definitely seen me cry some ugly tears, the real ugly cry. But thank you so much for having me on. This is something that I'm really passionate about sharing with women and educating them. Like, I find that whatever conversation I'm having, I always end up finding that I'm talking about relationships. So I've just noticed that definitely this is something that I love to share and speak from. It definitely got the experience behind me, and I think that's the greatest thing in regards to when we have those breakdowns, is being able to share that and the breakdown moments that we've had with the people, so hopefully they can learn from it and be guided through the same journey. So what I really want to do for you guys is kind of paint a picture and take you back through my own personal journey. And I think, yeah, exactly what Kimmy says, that it would definitely go back, like, I would like to say 5 years, but I think this has been like my whole life, to be honest. Like, I always saw myself as being like a big believer in love, especially the idea of, and I love the fairy tale romance. And I think that what that really was amazing for as growing up and coming into kind of adolescence and looking at boys and being like, ooh, experimenting, should I say. I think another great thing was, like, even though it was giving me, like, I'm very big on painting a vision and painting an idea of where I want to be and where I want to go. What I feel that also gave me when it came to love and relationships was a high expectation. And I felt that in the beginning, I always felt that in a relationship, I wasn't getting what I needed. And I feel that that was a massive part in me attracting emotionally unavailable men. And back then I was so big on blaming the fact that I was attracting these emotionally unavailable men. But what I didn't actually realize is that it was because I was emotionally unavailable myself. So I think that, like, I'm a big believer in you are what you attract. And I think that was a big pivotal moment for me when I understood that I was what I was attracting. I was like, why wouldn't I manifest my dream relationship instead of like thinking of what could go wrong and attracting all the wrong circumstances and the wrong relationship, should I say, the wrong relationships for me in that point. And I really want to kind of take you back to 5 years ago. And I really was that person, as I said, that dreamed big. And I had the big wedding and the fairy tale wedding. And unfortunately, I just didn't have the fairy tale romance that I always wanted. And it took me to have my daughter to really wake up to the idea that I didn't want to show her I didn't want her to see that the level of love that I picked for myself is what I would want for her, if that makes sense. And I think it took me ending my marriage to start understanding, like, that those were where the lessons were. And I think it's looking back on choosing yourself. Within that marriage, as I said, like, I have so much love and respect for this man to this day, because obviously he gave me my greatest gift, which is my daughter. But looking back, I had, like, with those high expectations that I had, like, back then, this guy never stood a chance. This guy never stood a chance. Like, I was looking for this Prince Charming relationship. And I think that there was so much hurt in that relationship, because I find, looking back now, because I've obviously done the healing work, and I've really, I think you have to look at yourself openly and honestly in those cases. And I feel that in that scenario, I was trying to change him. And I think that this is the problem that sometimes we make as females. Like, we naturally want to love and nurture. And the big thing that women say when it comes to relationships is we feel like we're not heard. We feel like our partner doesn't listen to us. But then what men also feel, and this is what men experience quite a lot, is they say that they feel that their women try and change them. And I think it comes to a place where men don't want to be controlled, they want acceptance. And I feel that that's what I did a lot in my marriage. And I feel that I call this my lesson. Definitely my biggest lesson was my marriage, because, as I said, I learned so much more about ending that marriage than I did when I started the marriage. And there was as I said, there was so much hurt in that marriage and so many lessons. But the number one thing that I took away was choosing myself when it came to that relationship, because I think that we have to understand that it's an awful situation to feel that you have to break someone else's heart. But you have to ask yourself the hard questions, which are either I can stay, either I can leave and break his heart, which is absolutely awful. And it's not a great feeling being, especially a woman, because we love to nurture, we love to give love, and I've always been quite an empath in that, and that hasn't served me well in the past, because being that way, I feel that I always put my partner's needs before my own. I always worked on making them happy, and it got to this pivotal moment in walking away from my marriage where I said to myself, either I can leave and break his heart, or I can stay and break my own heart for the rest of my life. And I think that from the beginning, if I was honest with myself, there was something in my heart that just wasn't right. And I think that when you feel that something in your heart isn't right, there will be a point that that voice just gets louder and louder and louder until one day you just decide to listen. Another thing I really just want to quickly cover when I speak about that relationship is something that, like, a brilliant tool that I would love to share with you all, and that is if anybody hasn't read the book, The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman, you need to read this book. It's such a brilliant tool, because I look back at my marriage and I see why it wasn't working and how it wasn't working, and that was because both of our needs weren't being met with our love languages. And bear in mind that your love languages constantly change. But back then, my love language was quality time, and his love language was touch, was physical touch. And when I felt that my needs weren't being met, with he wasn't sitting down and giving me that connection and talking with me, I didn't want to touch him and kiss him and have sex with him. So it just goes to show that when we both perceive that our needs aren't being met, that's where we're not able to give and receive the most amount of love that we're capable of giving. And I think we need to ask ourselves the question also is, your partner can only meet you as deeply as they've already met themselves. So sometimes, like, we can blame past relationships that didn't work, but at the end of the day, they were only loving you to the capacity that they knew. And ask yourself that question: were you loving yourself as deeply as you could have been loving yourself? So that's really a little bit about my and as I said, Kim, like, you were there and you were present for this. So it's not all, it's definitely, there was a lot of ugly tears that were cried during that process, because it is not, you have to be really brave to get up and walk away from a marriage. And that's why I say that so many lessons were learned from being honest with myself. Like, you have to be honest, and you have to listen to those internal voices that they're there for a reason. Like everybody says, those red flags, hey? But yeah, so that was really kind of my journey to starting to create my reality when it came to relationships. And that was when I decided it was no longer acceptable for me to settle like I had been doing for, not just in that relationships, but I think I had, like, when I came into my marriage, it was probably like my 3rd serious relationships. And I was always a relationships girl because I loved the idea of love. Like I wasn't great at being single, because if you look back, it's because I didn't know how to love myself. So that was really a massive, like a learning period for me. So when I left that marriage, as I said, being a single mum back then, and my daughter was 3 years old, this is when I started to really spending that alone time with myself. I feel that there's something so empowering being on your own and falling in love with yourself all over again, because when you don't have anybody else to pour this love into, you naturally just start pouring it back into yourself. You're like, okay, what does Stacey need? Like, Stacey needs a self-care day. Stacey doesn't need to be worrying about, I'm going to get this hat, I'm going to be such a good wife today, I'm going to get all of the washing done, I'm going to get the dishes, I'm going to make him a perfect lunch to take to work, I'm going to make him an amazing dinner when he comes home from work. Like, I only had myself and my daughter to put first, and that was a really empowering thing for me. And then coming into the heartbreak phase, I really want to touch on this, because this is also another moment that obviously Kim was present for. And the heartbreak phase for me was, I call it the heartbreak phase because I believe honestly that in 27 years, I never opened my heart. And this is after my marriage, guys. And I really want to speak openly and honestly about that, because I believe that it wasn't anything to do with my partner's fault and my ex-husband's fault. It was literally no fault of my own, that I just chose that I never wanted to open my heart, because I was so, like, this is what we do. Like, we all have a protector inside of us that doesn't want to truly be open, be vulnerable, be seen. And that's what I felt that I was doing. So I came to this space in my life after my marriage breakdown where my heart was wide open. It was so open, it was unbelievable. And somebody came into my life that I really needed in that moment in time. And it felt like one of those fairy tale romances. Like I was just bouncing off the walls. It was just the most incredible high, like being in love. Like, you know, when you feel like you don't need to, like, you're so happy and you look outside, you're like, oh my God, the sky is blue and the birds are chirping. And it's literally like that scene in Snow White when she's singing to all the animals. And that's exactly what I felt it to be like in those moments. And this is where the greatest lesson came for me was heartbreak. And that was, he was like an old friend that came back into my life. So there was a lot of that trust there. And I look back and I'm like, wow, the universe really like put those chips in order for me. And I felt that because I had that trust there, I let my walls down, which I'd never done before. And this is the first time I learned the importance of falling in love with your best friend. He was an old friend. We got on like a house on fire. And I really fell hard for this guy. And when my heart was wide open, I think it's so important to look at when you're falling in love is give everything you can without expecting anything in return. And I feel that that's really what I did. This was the first relationship that I fell in love with someone and I wasn't trying to change or fix them. And I felt that that's what I used to do in previous relationships, only because I could see a higher potential to them. And I wanted to love and nurture them. And that's what we do as women. This is what drives men bonkers, but that's who we are, and we love to love and nurture, and we're visionary souls, we're visionary beings, and we want to be able to access that unlimited potential with our partners, and that's what we see for them, and we lead first, right? So yeah, for me that was something that I really kind of sat with. And then when the heartbreak happened, I think there's something so like, this is I look back and this was definitely the hardest moments in my life. This was even harder for me, I think, than leaving my marriage, because I think that I'd finally thought that this was it. I opened up my heart and it was such a big knockback that I was not expecting to happen, that I was just completely blindsided by it. I was so happy. I was so in love. I thought he was too. He ended up actually leaving the relationship and cheating on me with someone else. And that was such a hard pill for me to swallow, because I had always been such a protector that in my previous relationships, I had always been the one that had done the leaving. And this is the first time I had been left. And I was like, oh my goodness, like it was really a hard pill for me to swallow, as I said. But I think there's something so beautiful in experiencing heartbreak, because it really, when I look back, I'm like, that is the greatest thing that ever fucking happened to me. The greatest thing. Oh, we've done the first F-bomb. That is the greatest thing that ever happened to me, because honestly, there is something so beautiful in going within. And they say that like you learn the greatest lessons when you have a broken heart, an empty bank account, and an empty fridge. And I honestly believe that those lessons I learned through the marriage breakdown to the heartbreak were just like, I couldn't put a price on those lessons that I learned. And then this is kind of when the healing process started for me, and looking within even more. Like I'd had that time on my own after my marriage, and then I found this great love and I was so happy. And then just as quickly as it started, it ended. And as I said, I felt like the rug was pulled out from underneath me, and I was really not in a good space. And I was like, this is really a time that I want to be looking at myself and where, like, loving all parts of myself. There were so many parts of myself that I hadn't even recognized or tried to love back then, that this was the moment that the universe gifted this to me. Like, I look back now and I'm like, I'm so glad the universe put this female in my ex-partner's path, because if it wasn't for her, I don't know what my story would have looked like right now. I don't know if whether I would have settled and stayed, and understood that probably the reason why I was so crazy is because it was lust over love. And there is such a thing, guys. So this is where I started to really look within and started to really identify that I needed to be the change I wanted. I needed to start asking for what I knew I truly deserved, because I feel that I was like, when am I going to catch a break? Like, when am I going to find this person that I've always known is out there for me? But at the end of the day, like, I didn't need somebody to be my other half. Like, I didn't need that. I already am whole. I just needed someone else to be there to amplify, to only amplify and improve my life, because that's what we're all here for, right? To love and to be loved. And I kind of got really like honest with myself about what I wanted. And this is definitely a process that I do with my clients, in asking for what you desire in a relationship. And this is when I sat down, and I don't really know how this came to me, because I look back, I still have this letter that I wrote to myself now. So I decided after my breakup and my heartbreak that I was going to sit down and I was going to get clear about what I wanted. And I actually wrote a letter to this in 2000. I dated it. This is in 2017. And I decided to make a list and get clear of what I wanted and what I felt that I deserved and what I wanted to attract into my life. And I think that it was so important in that to not write down. I wanted to make sure that I got clear in writing down what I wanted, how I wanted to feel in the next relationship, not how a person was going to look, how I wanted to feel and the way I wanted to be treated. Because let's be honest, like, when you look at all your previous relationships, there's so many great qualities that each of your past relationships had, right? But then there's so many qualities in your past relationships that have just driven you up the wall. So why not take all the really good parts from all of your past relationships and be like, okay, this is what I want in my next relationship. But I made sure in that sense that I was going to declare to the universe what I was worth, because I was so worried about that self-sabotaging process that we all do, that when we meet Prince Charming, we're like, oh my God, I'm not good enough for him. And that's why I wanted to also, in the same sense of getting clear of what to ask for, is also declaring what I brought to the table. Like, whether, for example, oh, my computer's doing some updates here, whether it be I fulfill, like, what I bring. I'm super caring in relationships. I feel that I fulfill my partners sexually and making sure that their needs are met. Like, write down all the things that you love about yourself in a relationship. Like, write down all the things that you love that you do for your partner, for your husband. And it's one of those cases is you have not because you ask not. So I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm just like, what have I got to lose? And yeah, so moving from there, that's kind of where I think once you begin to choose yourself first, you have the power to rewrite your own story no matter what path that you previously chose. So don't look at yourself and be like, I can't have that relationship. I can't have that relationship that I truly desire because of X, Y, Z that happened in the past. Like, you are in control of where you want to go moving forward. You have the opportunity to manifest whatever you choose to in a relationship. So yeah, and I think that, yeah, you're not given a perfect relationship, you have to build one, right? Yeah. And that's where I feel that we all need to understand that the work is never done. Like, you are the only person that's going to give yourself everything. Like, it's not your partner's job to make you happy. It's your job to make you happy. It's your partner's job to make you happier. And I feel that what I did in a lot in past relationships, and I don't know if you guys feel the same, is I was getting so pissed off with myself every time I came into a relationship, because I was like, I'm so freaking wonderful in a relationship. I feel like I give so much to my partners. Like, I always pour everything into this relationship. And then when it doesn't work out, I'm like, hey, what about me? Like why can't they give me the level of love that I know I truly deserve? And what I can say to that is, I feel that what I was doing was I was never pouring love from a cup that, like, I was always, the only times that you can give more to your partner is when your cup is overflowing. And I felt that I was always giving to my partner when my cup wasn't even for myself, for me. And I think that when you give more in a relationship, you always get less back. So like, be mindful of that. Be mindful of how much you're giving to your partner, and make sure you give to yourself first, because when you're giving to yourself first, you can definitely give all the love and more to them once you've already acknowledged that your worth, and you know that how much you love yourself and want to be able to give that love as well to your partner. So what I wanted to come into now is kind of like love and union, and kind of the relationship I'm at now. I met my partner 2 years, near enough 2 years ago now, and I think that I look back at that letter I wrote to the universe, and I'm like blown away when I wrote that letter 3.5 years ago. That being able to create the most wonderful relationship, and being in a relationship that equally challenges and supports one another. I think that it's such an incredible feeling when you found your best friend in a partner. I think that was the missing thing for me. Finding someone that when you, like, all those really great things happen to you, like, who do you want to turn to and who do you want to tell that to? And growing together is such an incredible thing. Like you, but also knowing that, as I said, you are the only person that's going to give yourself everything. And I think that once you find a relationship where you have to be both open to doing the work. If you're going to do the work on yourself, that's wonderful. But I think that you both have to meet each other in a place where you're both open to do the work. Because as I said, women are visionary. We're the ones that nurture, and we're the ones that lead first. And so we have to create that vulnerable, open, safe space for our partner to feel that they can be able to reflect that back to us. Like, as I said, like, vulnerability without expecting anything in return is really big, and it's something that I really am a huge believer in.
Obvious. Oh my gosh. Oh, I think I might
taking a breath.
I might just mute you while I talk, because I think I'm echoing, and I'm not sure if that's coming up in the recording. So, oh my gosh, guys, like, I kind of wish I was like writing notes as well. So I'm going to have to write notes on this. And I don't know about you guys listening, but everything Stacey said, I was like, oh my gosh, I've been there. That's happened to me. And I've had my heart broken. My husband now, we met almost 11 years ago, and we've broken up a few times along the way. And I remember the big breakup we had, and I went away and I learned to love myself. And he came back, but he came back the person that I always wished he would be. And it's crazy. Like, it's crazy, but it's not crazy, because it's what happens is we try and wait for that external person to make us feel loved and make us feel like we're the best we can be, but we have to do it ourselves. And then we bring in what we believe we deserve. So, like, guys, what Stacey's saying, she's gone through this, like, I've experienced it. So Stacey, can you just share with us a little bit, just to finish up? You now have, like, I know you guys are probably hanging on, like, well, where's she now? What's going on with her? You know, she left her marriage, and then thought she fell in love and had that massive heartbreak. So where are you now? I already know, but I want you to fill the listeners in, is what have you created now from all this learning? Just like, I'm just going to give it to you, because I want to give it away to anyone. Okay, it is.
There we go. I think I just selected me. Well, I'm really in a place now where I decided, I think because of I'm a big believer that the universe will always reward the brave. And I think where I'm at now is I'm in a relationship that is such a safe place for me. Like, you want to be with someone that is not just your safe place, but your biggest adventure. And I like to say that I'm incredibly lucky, but I know that I am in the relationship that I have manifested and created for myself because of the work that I went away and did on myself, and that journey through heartbreak and healing and learning to love myself. I used to find that in the past, when you would read any like self-help books when it came to relationships, because trust me, if there's a book, I've read it. If it's a guide on how to get your man back or how to get someone to fall in love with you, like, I was this person. Like, I remember back in the past when I was about 19 years old, in one of my relationships, we had like a crazy, like, you know, the silly breakups where, like, as you said, Kim, you've probably experienced it. The silly breakups where, like, you break up over a weekend and you're like, oh, you just say that you want to break up to get a rise out of him, to get some form of reaction, and then he actually breaks up with you and you're like, oh crap. I was one of those girls that was such a hopeless, like, romantic, and I just wanted to know everything there was to know about relationships and sexual relationships and love in relationships, that I remember Googling how to get my partner back. And it was like a step-by-step process. Oh my God. So it's like kind of like a process of starting from the bottom and now we're here. I think that I was such a, like, I think that, like, as I've said, I was such a big believer in the idea of love, and now coming into a space of a relationship where we both understand how important it is to learn, challenge, support, grow together. I am in a space in my life now where I have built, and I will say built, I didn't get this relationship. We have built this relationship together. And it does take serious work, and both parties have to be at the table together. And I think that, and that's why they say, like, you have to understand that you will always be in the perfect relationship for you. Like, I think that looking back now, like, even like my expectation of what I was bringing to the table, I wasn't looking at myself honestly and openly of being like, okay, what can I do different? Because I think we focus so much on how the other person needs to change, not looking at ourselves being like, okay, how can I show up that's going to make him feel more loved, supported and nurtured? And one of the things that myself and my partner now really have, I think this is definitely a number one thing that we believe is so, like, essential in making and building the most wonderful connection and relationships, is communication. My partner knows that I can absolutely chew his ear off, and just, he holds that space for me to speak about my day and tell him about my day and how it was, and really, like, take that time to invest in what I have to say. And I think it's just such a, that there's no greater feeling than, as I said, like, being in a loving relationship and feeling like that's what you're getting back. And I think that once I started to do more of the work, and I decided to choose different to what I had chosen before, this partner that I'm with at the moment is completely different from all of the other partners I had ever been with. And that's because I believe I had asked for what I truly wanted in a relationship. And find yourself a kind man, ladies, if anything. Like, I always say to people, like, look at yourself in the next 50 years, no matter how whatever age you are at the moment. And I ask myself these honest questions, and I'm like, okay, who do I want with me on a porch when I'm 80 years old? Like, who do I want to be talking to? I want to be talking to my best friend, right? And I don't want to be like, good looks will fade. They will always fade. Like, it's all about connection for me. And I know that where I am now and the person I'm with and the person that I like, love is about choosing that person every single day, choosing them on a bad day. My partner and I say when we're having one of those days where it's not all sunshine and rainbows, like, don't get me wrong, we have the days where we're like, wow, it's hard today. It's hard being in a conscious relationship. It's hard not only working on yourselves, but working on each other together, where we have those days where, like, he will say to me, like, babe, do you choose me today? And I'm like, wow, probably not. What can we do? Because it's all about that. It's being open to have those honest conversations, like, share what's going on in your mind. Like, I think that especially through the self-development journey and the growth journey in a relationship, you have to be open and honest with one another. I think honesty and communication is the key, personally, for, like, but as I said, what will work for my relationship might not work for somebody else's. I'm just hoping that it gives some insight to, like, building that right relationship for you. And don't be afraid to ask. Don't settle. Like, as I said, like, please, like, when it comes to love, don't settle. And like, I definitely want to share, as I said, if you are kind of like a beginner to this and you're like, oh my God, I don't even know where to start. And please don't think that this is me saying that if you're in a marriage that you need to leave your marriage to find happiness. Not at all. Like, you, as I said, perfect relationships, and I shouldn't say perfect, I should say the ideal partner for you can be built. That can be built. And that is something that, unfortunately, I learned a bit later on in life. That you can build that. You can build any relationship that you want to have. But two major references, as I said, if you want to get started and you don't know where to start, I would highly recommend The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman, what I spoke about previously. And another one of my great resources is Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. Oh my goodness, girls, if you want to have the most incredible relationship, read that fucking book. It's amazing. I think that's by Dr. John Gray, and it's just so, like, mind-blowingly, like, there's so many insights that I learned from that book when I read it, and so many kind of knowledge tips to make a lasting relationship work. So yeah,
I'm like, I have oh wait, I'm gonna have to mute you again. I know that book and I actually haven't read it, but I need a new book. And do you know what, like, in all honesty, my hubby and I, we're 2 years married now, and I don't know if it's I know there's a 7-year itch, but we're at 2 years, and I'm just like, things seem like exactly the same every single day. We need to spark things up. Oh my God, guys, I'll let you in. I literally went shopping this week and bought some lingerie, and I've not bought lingerie in like 6 years. That's how, like, nana life I am. And I've lived, like, I need to read this book because I've already, like, bought some lingerie, hopefully spicing things up. I don't know if that's too much information, but whatever. You guys hear me talk about all kinds of things. And yeah, I'm in this space. So I don't know if anyone can relate where if you're in a relationship and it might be a bit dull, or you're not dull, I shouldn't say dull. Don't worry, my husband doesn't listen to these. A bit, I guess, stagnant. Like, reading that book will help so much. And also, I just want to give a shout out to those of you who are single, who are listening to this and you're like, yeah, but I'm not in a relationship to need to do the work and understand. But I know, Stacey, you'll agree, it's doing it now and learning now, because the more we have the understanding, the more we're going to attract exactly what we desire, that we know will match us and will serve us to what we need. So isn't it crazy? Like, do your research to find your ideal partner. But it's so true. I'll let you do the unmuting. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. Like, the work is never done. Like, you have to understand that the work starts from you. And I think that I was so blameful in the past. I was so quick to blame my ex-partners and be like, you have not given me this and you're not meeting my expectations. But that's when I was like, wow, like, am I giving myself everything that I need? Like, could I be like meeting myself a bit deeper and loving myself more? Because as I said, it's so true when people say like your partner can only meet you as deeply as you've met yourself. And that's what we just said before. Start doing the work now. Start looking into this. Like, even if you are single, like, you are going to start understanding like what, like, you can ask for whatever you want in a relationship. Like, it is like, that is at your fingertips if you're willing to do the work and you're willing to look at where you're at and what you can improve. Like, maybe if you're in a place right now where you feel that you can't find, like, you feel that finding love is such a hard thing for you. And I think there's some, like, I have some girlfriends that like, it's so empowering to watch that they've been single for a while because they're not willing to settle. They're like, no, like, I know what I deserve and I'm not going to accept anything any less than that. And doing something different, change something. Like, if you like look at yourself, as I said, looking at yourself honestly, and asking yourself those hard questions. It's kind of like, I looked back at my relationships and I was like, what's the pattern I always do in my past relationships? Because at the end of the day, the only person that's in control of changing that pattern is you, and changing that future path is yourself. So I was like, okay, what did I used to do in the past? And what I used to always do is I would attract the emotionally unavailable man. And then when he would come in, I would be like, okay, he's emotionally unavailable. This is like, I love this thrill. I love this chase. Like, I'm going to get him emotionally available to me. That's what I want to do. And the second they would make themselves emotionally available, what did I do? See you later. Bye. Because that was my protector in me. Because I didn't actually, like, when I looked back, I never wanted to truly be seen. Because love is the most powerful thing, but at the same time, it's the most scariest thing, right? Like, opening yourself up and being scared that you're going to be hurt in return. And I think that's what my heartbreak taught me was, you know what, I'm just going to go for it. Like, it's better to have loved, and I know this is like one of those cliches, so it's better to have loved and lost than not have loved at all. Yeah. And I think in the beginning of my relationship right now, there was definitely a time that in the first couple of months, when you know that that transition period where you feel like you're going from like dating and it's all really exciting to something, then you're moving into something a bit more serious. Both my partner and I definitely had our little voice inside our heads creep up and be like, you're not worthy of this love. You don't deserve this love. And that's when we were like, oh my goodness. And it took for us to like really look at our relationship and where we were heading, to understand that, look, we may as well give this everything we've got and not stop hiding ourselves, because you deserve love. Everybody deserves love. I'm a huge believer in that. And we all are truly deserving of the love that we want in our life. So just like, be open to receive. I think be open. And yeah, I think I'm going to leave it with that. Be open to receive, because that's what it's all about, guys.
Be open. I love it. I really love this episode, Stacey. Like, seriously, it's so inspiring. I love talking about relationships. All women love talk. We all love talking about it, and like, it reminds me of my favorite, TV series, which is Sex and the City. It's all about, finding that ideal man, all of that over analysis. I think that's how you say it. And you've like given us so much clarity, and I love it. And you are so amazing at what you do. And thank you. I just want to give you, well, guys, Stacey's, if you want to follow her on her socials, it will be in the show notes. So you can find her on Instagram at Miss Euphoria, but we will have the Instagram handle and the link in the show notes. I think if you're happy with, we can also link her Facebook. So you can follow her on her Facebook too. And yeah, just, oh my gosh, she just adds so much value. So Stacey, thank you so much for jumping on and sharing. I absolutely loved it, and I know our followers did too. I'm just
you are so welcome, everybody. You're so welcome.
Well, guys, don't forget to, this is up on YouTube and iTunes. So YouTube, leave your comment below. Ask Stacey any questions, or reach out to her on social media and ask her questions. What was I say? Leave a review in the iTunes if you're listening on iTunes, and we can shout you out on our social media. And I feel like there's something that I always say at the end, like another bit of information, but I don't know. Anyway, well, I don't know, Stacey, is there anything you want to say to finish up? Or
no, guys, not at all. But thank you so much for having me. It's been such a wonderful experience. I absolutely love speaking about this subject. So yeah, if anybody has any questions, please reach out. I'm more than happy to take a listen and help out in any way I can.
Love it. All right, thanks, babe. And everyone else, I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and we'll see you next week. See you, hear you. You'll hear us next week. Oh my gosh. Anyway, peace out, homies.